Yes. When I say va, yeah, you can start. You count to 5 and then you can start, Nicole. Yes, thank you very much. Minister, you have the Spanish.
Sí, señora, te escucho perfecto. Bueno, mil gracias, un placer conocerle. Gracias. Gracias.
Nicole, los geht's, oder?
Martín.
40 segundos para aire.
40 seconds to be on the air.
$20 segundos.
20 seconds.
Nicole, va.
Buenos días, América.
Good morning, Latin America. Good afternoon, Europe. Welcome everyone to this first dialogue, Latin America. This is the EU's Green Deal and Circular Opportunities for Latin America. Welcome everyone. I'm Nicole Stoffer. I'm the Director of the Regional Program Energy Security and Climate Change in Latin America, EKLA, its acronym. In this regional program, we have the objective of offering dialogue platforms to push this decision-making in terms of climate change and, of course, energy security. I'm so happy that partnering with our colleagues in this multinational dialogue and our counterpart, the Innovation Center, we can start this dialogue today, since these are very important topics. We've always had a strategic partnership between Latin America and Europe, especially now dialogue and cooperation become even more important. The European Union has pushed the Green Deal since last year, focusing on a growth strategy linked to efficient use of resources through circular strategies. In Latin America, the circular economy is increasingly the solution, a tangible solution for a sustainable economic recovery. So much so that together with multilateral organizations at CAS, we are pushing this coalition with the participation of Colombia and various countries of the region. This shows that once more, there's so much potential of exchange and cooperation between Europe and Latin America, especially in times of crisis that we're all going through right now. From this foundation, the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, we're convinced that cooperation in this crisis should include economic issues, social and environmental issues as well. And therefore, we have many questions on this. What Green Deal solutions can we use in Latin America where we have cooperation opportunities? Or what do we need perhaps to create a global circular partnership? For me, it is an honor today to have in our first dialogue two very important speakers, representatives who've been working in the Green Deal. And we have Mr. Virginijus Sinkevičius, Commissioner for Environment, Oceans and Fisheries, European Commission, and Mr. Ricardo Lozano, Minister for Environmental Affairs and Sustainable Development. And we have Pablo Badenier, ex-Minister of Environment in Chile. So these are the programs we have. We hope today's dialogue may contribute to joint efforts of cooperation in Latin America with the European Union for us to be able to foster new plans for our present and future issues and situations. Pablo Badenier, our moderator, has the floor now. Thank you very much, Nicole. I want to welcome all of you, ladies and gentlemen, Latin American friends. Good afternoon, everyone in Europe, our friends in Europe, good afternoon. We're going to be sharing this regional dialogue, the EU's Green Deal and circular opportunities for Latin America. We, in December 2019, were able to get to know the European Green Deal. And in Latin America, we are following it with great interest. We're following all the decisions and the documents issued by the European Union Commission because we recognize your leadership on this issue. Without deepening more on this, Ursula said that this Green Deal shows new growth strategies. And the Green Deal also incorporates a map, a roadmap for the efficient use of resources through the passing of a new clean and circular economy. There is no doubt that this is a tremendously significant issue, and we knew the Green Deal of Europe before the pandemic. So today, this is a different scenario altogether. We have two major speakers today, two major leaderships that are going to allow us to really know the details of the challenges we face in the European Union and in Latin America. We have with us today, as Nicole already said, Mr. Virginijus Sinkevičius, who's Commissioner for Environment, Oceans and Fisheries of the European Commission. Yes, he's Lithuanian. He's a specialist in European studies of the University of Maastricht, and he's been member and president of the European Commission for the Parliament and also Minister of the Economy and Innovation in Lithuania. And we have also the Minister of Environmental Affairs and Sustainable Development in Colombia, Mr. Ricardo Lozano, a geologist of the Industrial University of Santander, a specialist in the media for the University of Los Andes, and international expert on climate change and sustainable development. Let me first give the floor to the Commissioner. Yes, you have 10 minutes, Mr. Sinkevičius, for us to discuss the issue we are discussing today. And then we shall give the floor to the Minister for Environment Affairs and Sustainable Development of Colombia. And then after that, we will go into the Q&A session. You can use the chat for your questions. So yes, Mr. Commissioner Virginijus, you have the floor, please. Thank you very much.
And dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, we live in challenging times. The world is facing a number of converging and interrelated crises. A climate crisis, a biodiversity crisis, and even a resource crisis. The coronavirus crisis has added to these challenges. The pandemic has clearly exposed the fragility of our economic system. It is also affecting the social fabrics of our countries. To deal with this crisis and make sure that we prevent even greater shocks to our well-being in the future, we have to focus on sustainable development. This is why the Commission has put the European Green Deal at the center of the European Union growth strategy and of our recovery plan from the coronavirus crisis. The European Green Deal has sustainability and social justice at its heart. It caters for both our people and our planet, pulling together all sectors and actors. It is about the systemic transformation of our economic model. It is more than just environmental policy or climate action. It is about transforming the use industry, agriculture, energy, transport, and other sectors. We are determined to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. As half of total greenhouse gas emissions come from resource extraction and processing, a transition to fully circular economy is crucial. We need an economic model that maintains resources in the economy for longer, minimizes waste, and keeps production and consumption within the limits of our planet. With the new EU Circular Economy Action Plan adopted in March this year, we aim to reduce our consumption footprint and double our circular material use in the coming decade. The 35 initiatives included in the plan aim at making sustainable products, services, and business models the norm, not the exception, and put the focus on preventing waste in the first place. We will target sectors and materials where greater circularity can be achieved. For example, plastics, construction, textiles, electronics. So the plan empowers consumers to contribute to a circular economy. It also foresees actions to give consumers more reliable information about environmental performance of products at the point of sale. Consumers will also benefit for a true right to repair to be developed in the EU consumer and product policies over the coming year. The plan is also about turning waste into resources and avoiding waste altogether. We will continue to support member states in the implementation of the ambitious EU waste legislation. We will review some waste laws to make them even fitter for a circular economy. Batteries, packaging, end-of-life vehicles, hazardous substances, and shipments of waste. The Circular Economy Action Plan goes together with other initiatives under the European Green Deal, the EU Biodiversity Strategy to bring nature back into our lives, and our Farm to Fork strategy for a fair, healthy, and environmentally friendly food system. With these strategies adopted in May this year, we want to bring nature, farmers, businesses, and consumers to work together towards a competitive and sustainable future. We also look into ways to tackle pollution. We have set ourselves a zero pollution ambition for which we are developing a set of actions. The green transition is also high on the agenda of the EU's relationship with Latin America and the Caribbean. So I'm particularly glad to be participating in this event to discuss opportunities for regional partnerships. Latin American countries are indispensable partners for the EU. The region includes many like-minded countries, and we should work together to address global environmental challenges, both by strengthening our bilateral cooperation and by cooperating in the context of regional and multilateral fora to enhance global ambition. The European Green Deal explicitly mentions the importance of relations with Latin American countries and envisages the use of EU diplomatic, trade, development, and financial tools to ensure that green policies are part of its relations with the region. Let me name a few examples. We have high-level environment dialogues with Brazil and Mexico, and we are developing cooperation with Colombia, Chile, and Peru. I trust that we will soon sign with Colombia a joint declaration for a dialogue on environment, climate change, and sustainable development. Negotiations are currently ongoing. We're developing cooperation with the Pacific Alliance Technical Group on environment, on circular economy, plastics, and biodiversity. The trade and sustainable development chapters of the EU trade agreements in the region contain the overall ambition of ensuring high levels of environmental protection. They also provide for further opportunities to promote green growth and investment and for dialogue on environmental issues. One more is probably important to mention. The Commission has carried out circular economy missions to Chile in 2016, Colombia in 2017, and Mexico in 2019, as well as high-level outreach activities in Peru for the regions. These allowed us to exchange best practices and deepen our cooperation. My services were amazed by the enthusiastic response from both our government counterparts and civil society in the private sector. So on circular economy, as in other areas of environmental sustainability, the EU and Latin America can, and I think should, share experiences, promote cooperation among private sector actors and stakeholders, and of course join forces to promote global ambition, for instance, by cooperating in setting up a global circular economy alliance, and by pushing for a new global agreement to deal with plastics. And I'm happy to hear that in November 2019 in Barbados, the Latin American and Caribbean Regional Forum of Ministers of Environment proposed the development of a regional coalition on circular economy, increasing resource efficiency and enabling human and environmental well-being. We are looking into the possibility of being associated with this alliance. We see the advantages of creating synergies between Latin American countries and more broadly with our global circular economy alliance. So, ladies and gentlemen, neither in the EU nor in Latin America can we succeed on our own. We need to work with the international community for a global transition to a just, climate neutral, resource efficient, and circular economy. We are convinced that for countries across the world, sustainable models will open up new business and employment opportunities while strengthening ties with European economic actors. The green transition is key for poverty eradication, human well-being, and resilient societies globally. It is crucial for security stability and easing migration pressures. We look forward to working with Latin American countries towards the adoption of an ambitious post-2020 global biodiversity framework at CBD COP15. And we cannot make progress on climate without addressing biodiversity and ecosystems loss, and vice versa. We also continue to promote the circular economy in the context of the International Platform on Sustainable Finance. Public funding alone will not be sufficient to finance the transition. Mobilizing the financial sector to promote sustainability across the board is crucial. And the EU is keen to explore the possibility of bold action at the global level, a global agreement on plastics, and sees UNE5 as a key opportunity to launch this process. There is also a growing need to advance discussions on defining a safe operating space and kickstart a discussion on a possible international agreement on the management of natural resources. Let me conclude. I think we have to truly assume our responsibility, work together, and together lead the efforts towards a green recovery and more sustainable development, for the sake, of course, of our planet and of our future. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias a usted, señor.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Commissioner, for your excellent words, your analysis, tremendously interesting for the countries of the region. The fact you're mentioning also cooperation mechanisms from the viewpoint of trade, commercial tools, diplomatic tools. This is very important, highly significant for our countries. And with this, I want to invite the Environmental Affairs and Sustainable Development Minister, Mr. Ricardo Lozano. Please, sir. You have the floor. And we want to hear reflection from Colombia, a country with significant leadership. Please, Mr. Minister, you have the floor, Mr. Lozano. Yes, well, what a pleasure for us to see you once more, especially in such important scenarios for all of us. I want to especially thank the European Union for this important cooperation and the words of Mr. Virginijus, who made a very important summary of what this Green Deal is all about. In Colombia, we're working on this. We're inspired by the European Union. And thank you and greetings to Nicole and Mr. Shrey. Also, greetings to you, the Director of Multinational Development Policy Dialogue, Brussels, Mr. Shrey. And then also special greetings to our Ambassador Patricia Lombard of the European Union. And she has inspired all of us here in Colombia to strengthen ties among our countries and for us to have very concrete results in this very important Green Deal in the European Union and a pact for sustainability here in Colombia. I also want to thank the CAS Foundation, the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, because the scenarios, that's exactly what we need today to move forward on global goals. And of course, when we speak about the environment, we're talking about the entire planet. We're not just talking about one region, and commitments are among all of us. And let me also tell you that in this exercise that we have, as already said this morning by Nicole, never before in history of humankind had we had such a clear, evident understanding of the relationship between the health of ecosystems, the health of the planet, and the health of human beings. In many people, they have the sustainability component separate from the healthcare sector. In Colombia, fortunately, they're one and the same thing. And we are also caring about environmental health and human health and sustainability. We understand that our Green Deal policy and the sustainability Green Deal there's an impact on human beings. I think we're understanding this in the different countries as well. Sorry. Yes.
Situación y poner un ejemplo de Colombia.
Yes, let me give an example. In our economic reactivation program, one of the pillars has to do with community forestry programs, forests, and the agriculture. Our agriculture community never stopped doing things. We are providing all the services because in the cities we know we're getting all the products from them. And as the circular economy, for the efficient use of biomass, this has to do with activities for the pandemic and post-pandemic activities as well. And also the situation of water, goods and services that we need so much, and the efficient use of water and electric energy. And I can also tell you that in this exercise of articulating our work with the National Development Plan based on these pillars, legality, entrepreneurship, and equity. This is done at the territorial base. We have this global vision, and as you have in the European Union, we're doing this in every basin, in every territory, in every village, in every community in Colombia. And this is very important. Diversity, that's what we're talking about. This is so important in Colombia as in all Latin American countries. So we have to look at cultural behavior, changing culture. And we know we have different conditions from one municipality to another. We have 5 regions, the Caribbean, the Amazon, the Andes region, the Andean region, and the western and eastern regions of the country. And we have Caribbean islands like San Andres that are so different from the continental islands, from the Caribbean region, from the Andean region. Each region has, in Colombia, different culture. and even languages sometimes. So we are also translating all this information because that's where we find solutions based on nature. We are promoting this exercise. You might recall that the President Duque launched a regional agreement to translate information for greater active participation, inclusive participation of communities in the decision-making process. And this is very important for us, and this is something important to include the ethnic groups and their participation, their active participation. And in Colombia, you have municipalities like Quito in the Chocó region and the Colombian Pacific region, very high poverty levels. However, they now have a biomass program, and this is biomass use. The markets are now participating in these programs. In Bogotá, we don't have that program yet. In the capital city, we do not have it. So the major capitals are not setting the example of circular economy or the usage of those materials. Sometimes it's the smaller places that are doing this, not the capital cities. And we see here the indicators of the results we have. And we can see this. This is a comparison of the Green Deal with the Deal for Sustainability. On the left-hand side, you see the Green Deal, the principles. And this is a comparison with our sustainability agreement or pact. For instance, for climate ambition, we're updating our commitments of 20% for 2030 in the reduction of greenhouse effect gases, and also clean energy, safe energy. You can see that in recent years, we had a very important leap. We used to have low generation capacity, but now we have 20 times more capacity with the new auctions we have on solar energy, wind energy, and also the industry moving towards clean industry. And we launched the first policy and strategy of the region for Latin America and the Caribbean on circular economy. And right now we are chairing under the coalition of the United Nations for Latin America and the Caribbean, who are launching this type of initiative, articulating standards and languages so that we all speak the same language in Latin America and the Caribbean. Today, of course, we're working with Chile, with Peru, directly with Ecuador, with Mexico as well, and Costa Rica. Now, other issues we're working on and that we're sharing with other countries is efficient use of energy and savings of energy. We're working with the housing sector in the implementation of this type of action, and we have intersectorial work with the different ministers, the Ministry of Agriculture, for instance, and zero deforestation, and we're working with cacao growers and coffee growers, and we are reducing deforestation. This is one of our major programs. You see the curve right here. You see how it is declining as of 2018, almost 20% reduction a year in deforestation. And this is something we are continuing, as you can see, and the sectors are participating, especially in the Amazon region. In this recent years, we've avoided over 60,000 hectares that are not being deforested as they used to be. We have this pact that we signed with different countries and the Amazon countries. And the circular economy agreements have different action lines. Social entrepreneurship, economic entrepreneurship, the legality aspect is very important, and permanent monitoring systems. This is very important. We are monitoring all the information we're getting also from research think tanks or institutes. This is a very important component of legality, which is, of course, very important for all of Latin America, but also the participation of sectors like the housing sector that I've mentioned. And we have here over 700 600,000 degraded, we call them degraded areas. However, 700,000 that are now being protected to reduce pressure on those areas through the circular economy. This is something we're working on, and we have the goal 180 million trees that are being planted. And this is joint work with Davos and the World Economic Forum, giving importance to our forestry sector. And the Letizia Pact, this is something that we are reinforcing. We had a second summit with commitments and financial mechanisms from the IDB, and these funds are integrating all the countries. And we have the biodiversity, we call it in Spanish here in Colombia, defining new indicators to this new program to reduce risks and threats on our biodiversity. We have another exercise of mega diversity and biodiversities with this component. The environmental structure, we're taking it to the urban component. And you can see here now in times of pandemic, people are reporting exactly what they are seeing from their windows at their home, the wildlife changes, and we are reporting that in this exercise. And this is, of course, based on nature. This is something we are the nature portfolio and the national strategy for circular economy. This is a new culture for us, new lines for biomass, energy, water, even construction materials. And we're doing research, more training, more international cooperation. And as Dr. Virginijus already said, this is very important, and our partnership with the European Union is of the utmost importance. We have over 100 projects with this circular economy. Plastics, of course, are included with the participation of regions, and of course, training of public officials and the training of private sector businessmen, so that we can all participate, and the agriculture community and the indigenous communities are also participating. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Very interesting. Definitely. You're mentioning the SDGs. This is a long-term agenda, of course, but the SDGs, of course, have to do with sustainable development. And this is a complex situation. It has the participation of different sectors. In Colombia, where you're working with the agriculture, the forestry sectors, and this is very relevant work. And there are so many questions in our chat. Let me select a few of those questions. Let me start out with the first question for the commissioner. Yes, Mr. Sinkevičius, you mentioned interest of the European Union, and you mentioned commercial trade tools. I wanted to ask you two things that are interrelated. Do you think we could move forward towards common standards, circular global common standards? Second question, what do you think will be the role of the WTO or other multilateral institutions that are similar to the WTO that have a great impact on strengthening the frameworks we need for a circular economy? You have the floor, Mr. Sinkevičius. Your microphone, sir, please. Thank you.
Yes, now it's good. Thank you very much for your question. First of all, speaking about the prospects of establishing global circular economy standard, it's absolutely clear that the European Union cannot deliver alone the ambition of the European Green Deal for a climate neutral, resource efficient and circular economy. The EU will thus continue to lead the way to a circular economy at the global level and use its influence, expertise and financial resources to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals in the EU and beyond. What we plan is to spur the global transition inter alia through a dedicated global alliance on circular economy and resource efficiency. The alliance would be instrumental in gathering governments, support by stakeholders willing to advance for the global circular economy transition, and a more sustainable management of natural resources. At the political level and in multilateral fora, this include, first of all, United Nations Environment Assembly, the High-Level Political Forum, and the United Nations General Assembly. We are working together with the United Nations Environment Programme and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization to set up such alliance. Cooperation with similar initiatives at the regional level, including the Latin American and Caribbean Regional Coalition on Circular Economy, increasing resource efficiency and enabling human and environmental well-being, would be sought as well. Now, speaking about the WTO role, I think it's quite early to, I named quite a few organizations, and speaking about the WTO involvement in this, I think it's still way too early.
Okay, muchas gracias.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Now, Mr. Minister, as part of the questions we are getting, I think it is quite significant for Latin American countries also to be able to set certain priorities. The Commissioner spoke about the industrial sector, the agricultural sector, and you spoke about the forestry sector, Mr. Minister. From the Colombian experience, do you think there are some sectors that have greater advantages to start turning into more circular sectors, more aware of their wastes, and that could perhaps they could reduce raw material and energy consumption? I think that's the second thing that inspires the circular economy. Mr. Minister. Yes, of course. I think, as I've said, it really depends on a differentiated factor for each one of the countries. Of course, each country, we inspire each other, and we are inspired by trade industrial activities of some countries. Mining is more developed, energy is more developed in another country, or the livestock or the agricultural sector is more developed. It really depends on the conditions of each one of our countries. But in the Colombian case, for 25 years, we've had a cleaner production policy. And even with the support of the Dutch government supporting us, they've been supporting us for 25 years. We have been going through a transition exercise for clean energy. We're working with the hydrocarbon sector, the mining sector, the energy sector, the industrial sector as well. And now we have this major green growth policy. We have goals for this. But now with circular economy programs, we're showing the way how to fulfill those goals, SDGs, for instance. Here in Colombia, we have a challenge. The reuse of water. This is very important for us. How can we reuse water? This is our constitution, our legislation is very strict on this, avoiding pollution. So we're doing a cultural transformation exercise of all the different sectors. What is necessary? We want all sectors to understand the control measures, the prosecutor's office, even the legal, the judges, the justices are participating in this. We want everyone to understand that circularity can be also practiced in this type of initiatives. And this is already happening in the construction sector in Colombia. We see how the construction sector, the construction company, for instance, when they're doing demolitions of the buildings, to build a new building, well, those materials are being taken to another project without it going to the rubble places or the landfills. We are doing this with the plastic sectors. Before, we never had a plastic comprehensive program. We have created that. We call it the plastic table. And we also have companies that are innovating with integral management systems, so that we are not just sending this to the industrial parks, we're sending them to special sites. And this is the way we are working on the SDGs also. This is a very dynamic sector. It really depends on the economy of our countries and the priorities we set. Today, we have biomass issues, and this is to reduce pressure on forests, because we have the Amazon region, the Letizia Pact. We are increasing this type of exercises to reduce deforestation. So we are promoting the recycling of materials, the use of recycled materials. Before it was done with timber, with wood, but now it's with recycled materials. Thank you so much, Minister. Very interesting. And the commissioner was also talking about sectors and materials. I wanted to ask, Commissioner, I wanted to ask you, there are policies and regulations, of course, but there is no doubt that having more circular economies that are going deeper into the problems will not only require government participation, but also the business sector has to participate, and more active participation of civil society, organized civil society. So I wanted to ask you, Mr. Commissioner, how is it that we could have the participation of companies, of the business sector and the organized civil society? How can they participate in a faster and deeper implementation of circular economy? Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you very much. Now, speaking about the Circular Economy Action Plan adopted by the European Commission in March, it's first of all, it is our roadmap to accelerate the transition to a circular economy. And in this plan, we first of all identified 7 key sectors on which I think, first of all, which ones have to be to get involved. It's electronics and ICT, batteries and vehicles, packaging, plastics, textiles, construction and buildings, and food, and also water and nutrients. So this is the first of all sectors to be addressed, and of course representatives of those sectors to get involved. Secondly, we should speak about the recovery after the COVID-19. All around the globe, economies were heavily affected, and we face not only unprecedented crisis caused by the zoonotic disease, but we also face the moment where enormous amount of public money going to be injected into economies. And I think this is a great chance to help actually businesses, especially SMEs, to get on track of circularity. So the recovery plans, which are proposed by the government, proposed by the European Commission, and also the future budget of the European Union, will provide considerable investment opportunities in the green and digital economy. And I think this is a key decision and opportunity to build back in a better way and move away from a linear economic model. And it's a great argument against those who are saying that those green technologies, clean technologies, are very often too expensive, that SMEs cannot afford them. It's technologies which also sometimes are hard to work with. I think with those huge amounts of public money injected and put them on the right trajectory, this is the way to get sectors and stakeholders on board.
Muchas gracias, comisario.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Very relevant. The pandemic mention you are making. Yes, I want to share this with Minister Lozano. We are being terribly hit by the pandemic right now more than before it was Europe, of course. But in the post-pandemic framework, circular economy, is it an opportunity? Or because of the effects of the pandemic, are we going to be seeing a slower implementation of the circular economy principles? No, this is a great opportunity. Of course it is. As I've said, even from the European Union, they already did this exercise in Spanish, a survey analysis showing where priorities were found in Spain. In terms of the circular economy, before it was the 3rd place, but now, even with the pandemic, a 6th place. The health component is a priority, and job generation is now of the utmost importance. Before, they were not first place priorities before the pandemic, but now it's 6th place in 20 priorities. Circular economy ranks 6th place now. In terms of jobs, of course, we have to mobilize job creation, as I've said. Young people in Colombia right now, for instance, as I've told you, we have over 100 projects. Well, it's youth participating. The new generation, I mean, we, the older generation, have already gone through the process, and we've been able to understand the importance of working with waste materials. And this is something youth understands. People are not saying this is true or false. Young people are promoting this type of initiatives now. And in Colombia, we are very much aware of what I have already said. These are fundamental challenges we face, no doubt about it. And we have to make adjustments in terms of the standards and our standardization to continue supporting those entrepreneurial projects. If we don't make the adjustments, those projects will not move with the necessary speed. So ISO standards have to be adjusted, or we have to adjust ourselves to ISO standards. The WTO, well, plays a very important role. We need to have clear rules for the standardization of processes in the measuring, reporting, and circularity among countries. And this is a responsibility we now have because we chair the Latin America and Caribbean region. We have to break away from paradigms of second-hand materials. This is very important, as I've already said, when we talk about circularity of water or also construction materials. And for that, we have to overcome those barriers that have to do with cultural barriers and also restrictions for their implementation. We have to incentivize them or disincentivize them, either one, to go into the transition in terms of consumption and in terms of services that are being offered in the manufacturing of new materials and materials. But we have to move forward on this, so much so. And the most important thing is that we understand, yes, we're still 6th place. And this is from this is the example of Europe and Spain, and we in Colombia through green businesses and green economy, which is what President Duque is now promoting and fostering with the different sectors. We are attending to these needs in the environmental sectors and all other sectors, the trade, the commerce, the industry sectors, and the assessment of different materials, guaranteeing drinking water, potable water, and the waste management programs. Although we have less waste and we have more healthcare services, we are paying attention to the pandemic. However, we clearly understand we have to continue with this very important exercise. People are very much more aware. This pandemic has increased people's awareness, and we need to make those adjustments to generate benefits. Thank you so much, Mr. Minister. We've been speaking about efficient use of materials and energy. In this conversation, we have to make efficient use of time as well. So I want to share with you a final question to our two very important speakers. Commissioner, could you give us a priority, the main priority, to have a common agenda of circular economy between Europe, the European Union, and Latin America? Please, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this great discussion. I'm always thrilled to be discussing topics with another part of the world, but so in common. And I hear what the minister is saying, and we haven't met before, and we haven't aligned our notes, but it's great to hear that we are so much on the same page. So first of all, I would return back to what everyone signed under. It's the UN Sustainable Development Goals. They provide a level playing field, but also a challenging benchmark to all countries around the world. The transition to circular economy is essential to achieving a number of SDGs. Achieving a common circular economy agenda is about working together along all the possibilities for cooperation that I already outlined in the beginning, both on bilateral and, of course, multilateral level. As I mentioned, the development of regional coalition on circular economy by the Latin American and the Caribbean Regional Forum of Ministers of Environment is very important step, and we are looking into possibility to be associated and create synergies with of course our Global Circular Economy Alliance. I understand that the main objective of this coalition is to develop a common regional vision and work plan on a circular economy in order to have a bigger impact, build cooperation, and have regional platform to exchange best practices and provide technical support. I'm also aware that the United Nations Environment Program is building this coalition in close cooperation with the Konrad Adenauer Fund and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the World Economic Forum, the Platform for Accelerating the Circular Economy Coalition, and so on. On a bilateral level, I think I'm looking forward to deepening our cooperation, notably with Colombia, in the context of the forthcoming a joint declaration for a dialogue on environment, climate change, and sustainable development. On indicators managing the global circular economy transition requires a better understanding of broad social trends and the drivers of investment, global production and consumption patterns. A circular economy monitoring framework has been set up by the European Commission, consisting of 10 indicators and some sub-indicators. And these indicators were selected in order to capture the main elements of a circular economy. I think we need more analysis of the impact of the circular economy on different sectors, countries, and markets, and the associated social and environmental impacts. In particular, we have to speak about the climate benefits. In addition, I think there are still knowledge gaps in the identification of sustainable production and consumption practices concretely at the scale, so that current circular economy activities reach their full potential. So this end, the EU is actively supporting ongoing work by the International Resource Panel and the OECD. Preliminary results should be made available in the course of the next year, and this is where I think we can all get that landing zone we should be all looking at, everyone around the globe. But as I said at the beginning, answering your question, I think the starting point must be sustainable development goals. Everything is there. We all signed for it. I think it's time to deliver.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your words, and once more for mentioning the SDGs that are so relevant. This is like a beacon for long-term agendas for everyone. Now, I want to ask Minister Lozano, priorities in this very important relationship for us between Latin America, the Caribbean, and Europe for a deeper circular economy in our countries. Yes, I think that if we talk about circular economy priorities, something already mentioned, adjusting norms and standards, also international standards, so that the business plan, this cycle may be closed to generate benefits that are tangible, creating incentives, adjusting standards, closing businesses, business deals, something we can see out in the marketplaces, products coming from reuse and recycling to be used and to generate new jobs based on optimizing materials and the efficient use and savings of energy. This is the major framework, I would say, for those issues in the Green Deal, but it is the greatest ambition in terms of reducing greenhouse effect gases in our countries, and our ambitions, like in Chile as well, in Colombia, we're updating clean energy, affordable energy, safe energy, construction through clean energy, saving energy, sustainable mobility, zero emissions. In Colombia, we are doing this in a very immediate fashion. We're doing this very fast. We didn't have this standard before. And President Duque promoted this when he was a senator, from the farm to the table. That's the name of the program, with healthy, respectful programs in the European Union, also with cooperation in these times of pandemics. They're supporting us with resources. We have 2,000 businesses from green markets in Colombia. People are requesting this through virtual platforms. More than 80 are in the free market process. And these are the products people want. That's the products they want to buy and take home. The establishment of ecosystems, restoration, and biodiversity protection, zero pollution in terms of toxic substances. This is something we're working on in Colombia through different agreements, also to reduce mercury, or the national plan for the management of hazardous waste. Infectious diseases. This is something that we're also promoting, programs against infectious diseases. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Time really moves so fast, doesn't it? And I want to highlight in this great conversation the coincidences. The minister of a Latin American country, Colombia, and the coincidence with the commissioner for Environment, Oceans and Fisheries of the European Union. This is a very comprehensive discussion. We're not just talking about waste management. We're talking about circular economy, which is a broader topic, and this has to do with biodiversity. It has to do with climate change. I want to share with you and to tell all of you what an honor it has been for me to moderate this important conversation. I want to give the floor to Nicole for her final remarks, highlighting the importance of this forum. Thank you, Konrad Adenauer, and thank you for your regional program, EKLA, which is contributing in such a relevant fashion to this virtuous relationship between our countries and the European Union. From Chile, I want to give the floor to Nicole for her final remarks. Please, Nicole. Yes, thank you very much, Pablo. On behalf of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation and both regional programs, the regional program and the climate change program and the energy program in Latin America, and then the regional program, the multinational development program, we want to thank you deeply, Commissioner. Thank you so much. And Minister, yes, thank you so much, sir, for having shared your vision, perspectives, showing us exactly what Pablo said, that there's so much enthusiasm for cooperation in all of us. We are very much aware of the problems, and the ocean doesn't divide us. And circular economy is a great opportunity, not only to face this crisis, but to reach the SDGs, of course. And as we have already said, we have to do more analysis, more exchanges, of course, and part of the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, we are more than happy to continue contributing for us to have more exchange and more cooperation from the European Union and, of course, Latin America. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here with us from Europe, from Latin America. This has been so important dialogue, and this dialogue has to continue. This is one of a series we're going to be having, so please be attentive for the next dialogues we're going to be holding so that we may have more exchange between Latin America and the European Union. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Wonderful weekend. Good afternoon. Good morning. Bye-bye.